What is going on, y'all? KM Best here with another Rate the Cards. I have here a player who has almost never played Marvel Snap before. Amazonian, a Magic the Gathering Arena streamer, is on twitch.tv/Amazonian and youtube.com/Amazonian and has played exactly 2 hours of Marvel Snap in her entire life. This was at the beginning of the game's life cycle. There are so many things different now, but basics wise, if I put this card in front of you, do you know what the numbers on it mean?
All right, so the blue one, that's
Yes.
the cost, and the orange one it's kind of a power or a presence or a points. I'm not sure what it's called in the game, but a higher number there usually good.
Accurate. Okay. Those are the higher number there is good, lower number on the other one is good. That's typically how it goes.
Yes.
Yes.
And if I remember right, you have locations and sometimes they do things, and whoever has the most number at the end of a location when the game either ends or somebody snaps, then they win.
Close. It's when the game ends. The snapping is like doubling stakes. So
I thought that was just like, yeah, we're gonna end it right now. I'm saying we're ready to go.
No. The snapping is, well, it can end the game right now because you can retreat if your opponent snaps. So like sometimes it does end the game right then. But like basically the way the snap mechanic works in Marvel Snap is you are each starting out the game wagering 1 cube. You snap, it doubles up to a total of 4 cubes. It doubles up to a total of 8 cubes if your opponent snaps back. A lot of cubes,
okay.
yeah.
I do like eating cubes. It's one of my favorite shapes.
Really? If you had like a top 3 shapes to eat,
yeah,
like that would be, I feel like
it's up there. It's like there's that cool cauliflower that's got fractals on it. That's pretty good. That's up there.
I don't know. I feel like rectangles and squares are probably higher for me. Triangles are really up there. Chips, like I don't know. I feel like it would
like
take a lot.
Dorito chip. I see what you're saying.
It would take a lot for a cube to get on there. That's an issue. Okay. Anyway, yes, most points at space wins that space when the game ends. The game ends on turn 6. And that is the basic thing you need to understand about Marvel Snap. You have 3 locations. Sometimes they do stuff. Your goal is to win 2 out of 3.
Okay. All right, I'm ready. So do you want me to say, just like, if I think a card is good, do you want me like rank it on a scale? What's the metric here?
I let the people who come on the show determine their own metric because I don't want to be too prescriptive with it, and I want to give them rooms to like, hedge. You can do thumbs up, thumbs down, good or bad, or you can do a 10 scale. I've had someone, when I told them this, they were like, I'm going to do a 7 scale, just to be weird with it. You have plenty of options.
I'm going to go a little loose with it, but starting with this one. So if it ends on 6, you get 1 energy or mana, whatever it's called per turn. But this thing is 9. That's more than a 1-for-1, because I imagine that there's a bunch of like cards that are like 3, and then you get a 4. But this one, that's 9. This is just like a big chunky vanilla. I bet that it doesn't see a lot of play because people like strategies other than big stompy. But I gotta say it's a good card.
And that would be incorrect. This is a baseline bad card. Like, this is
a bad card. It just loses most of the games it's in.
There are, like, you correctly identified this as the vanilla, but Marvel Snap doesn't balance around the vanillas the same way another game might. Marvel Snap has things that are just this, but with a good ability. So there ends up being no reason to play this, unless you are specifically...
So there's like a 5 cost, 9 power that does something.
There's a 5/10 that does something.
Oh my gosh, they're just out here buffing. This is creep. You know what? Card creep.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely, they're power creeping the vanillas. But like the vanillas are like sort of, rather than thinking of them as the vanillas, they're more like the floor. Like these are the floor. A vanilla card is very often the floor of what you can do with that energy.
I'm going to have to see then like how high these base stats can go. So should we move on to the next card?
Absolutely. Let's get weird with it.
Bob?
Hydra Bob.
Who's Hydra Bob? Hydra, I assume, is like the organization. And
correct.
Who's Bob?
So he's like a Deadpool villain gag character that like every so often will show up in a Deadpool fight and be like, oh god, not this guy again. And Deadpool like kind of knows him. He's like, hey, Bob, I recognize you. And so like he's a Deadpool joke character is the answer here.
Oh, that's wild. So this one has huge stats. So it's 1 cost, 5 power, but it's unpredictable where it's going to go.
Yes.
People, I imagine, don't snap super early, so you kind of get the vibe of where it is on the first few turns, but then it could be anywhere other than where it is. So it gives your opponent, I feel, some control over it, and you some control over it.
Yeah.
I'd still say no. This sounds good to me because 1/5, and I like chaos.
I mean, that, like, you got that right. This is a 1/5, and that is just so far above rate that it just ends up being one of the best cards in the game. There's, like, an interesting sort of deck building thing that happens in Marvel Snap where it's hard to get 1 costs into your deck a lot of the times because they're often so small. And so you're
But you
devoting
want to do something on every turn, though,
You
because otherwise you're
do!
wasting resources. You can't bank the cost.
Exactly. So like there's this tension between wasting the early resources in terms of not playing a card on one and wasting the spots in your deck playing something very small. Hydra Bob
Mm.
alleviates this almost entirely by being a 1/5. He just sort of solves
Wait,
that problem by punching it.
it's crazy. They have a 1 cost thing that's almost as strong as Abomination. I can't believe they do this. I don't
Yeah.
know anything about this game, but I'm outraged. I'm sure everybody was when they introduced this.
Actually, they kind of were, but not for the reasons that you're talking about. Hydra Bob was released as a 1/4, and then right as he was about to like rotate out of the spotlight caches, which is like how people get most new cards, they made him a
Mhm.
1/5. And everyone was really mad about that.
Oh, because 'cause they're like, "I didn't get one yet." Now it's a
Yes.
chase. Now everybody
Yes.
wants one.
Yes, that is exactly what happened. So they made him a 1/5 and they gave us like, I don't know, 4 hours of notice on this.
Oh my god, so you had, like, no time to grind to get the cash or whatever it's
Yes,
called.
that's exactly what happened with Hydra Bob. People weren't necessarily upset that, mathematically mathing it out, 2 Hydra Bobs beat up Abomination, because that kind of happens in every game, right? Like Emrakul, 15 Squirrels. That's like a fairly common thing that the math doesn't math perfectly all the time. But yeah, it is kind of crazy that this guy's a 1/5.
Alright. Let's move on to, guy number 3. So far I'm 50-50 on these.
Check it out, it's another 1/5.
What? How dare they? But wait, at the end of the game, move to a location that loses you the game if possible. I'm so confused, ma'am. Why do you do that?
She's supposed to be reverse Captain Marvel, and Captain Marvel has the ability to move to a location that wins you the game if possible. So they got really clever with it.
So I'm trying to think how likely it is that the computer would be able to figure that out. Are there a
100%.
maximum number of units that can be at a location?
Yes, you can have at most 4. And for the record, the computer is 100% accurate. The way it works is literally it waits until everything else has happened and then goes and tries to lose you the game. So if it is possible for this card to lose you the game, it will lose you the game.
Okay, that's wild. So I'm like thinking you could try to fill up other spots for it.
You can do that.
So it
If
can't.
it can't
But
move,
oftentimes I felt like in my playing the tutorial of Marvel Snap, I'm clearly an expert. Sometimes you
yeah.
just like abandon one place. You'd be like, there's no way I'm gonna win this. So I'm not gonna put anything here. Maybe some things that like swap locations later. I would say I wouldn't play this because I feel like there's too many scenarios where despite the value, it's not something I'd want to play.
That's accurate. Part of playing a 1/5 is that you get those 5 points of power on a location that you want those 5 points of power. Now, you can play Martyr in a deck that fills up all the locations and then she will be a 1/5. But it's very hard to do that with any kind of reliability because sometimes locations say stuff like, you can't play cards here. And then she just sucks and goes over there and then loses you at the game if she can, right?
Oh, good job, Martyr. Good
Yeah.
job.
So, like, it's the duality of 1/5s here. Hydra Bob is a little bit chaotic. Martyr is 100% negative
Well,
chaos.
she's just what she's trying to hurt you.
Yes, she wants to hurt you. Whenever you play her, she does not like you. That is, I think, the flavor here.
Rude lady.
Yeah,
Oh, hey, Black Panther. On
yeah.
reveal, you double his power. So it's when everybody has played their cards for the turn, at the end of the round, they get flipped face up, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, cards flip face up after both players have chosen what their cards are going to be for that turn.
Okay. And I'm trying to think. I know there's ways to make things go face down again, which I assume means that there's ways to make things face up again.
Um,
I think
there
I saw
aren't
that in
ways to make things
tutorial.
go face down again.
Then what's even the point?
Yeah,
Alright.
it's just a guy that's big, and then
Is it
you can
5'10"
yeah, but you can
then?
like okay, so like the way this card is meant to make you think is like, what if you do it twice, right? Like, what if you make the on reveal
Oh,
happen
you could
twice?
double the trigger or
Yeah,
something.
what if you made him bigger, right? What if you doubled the trigger? What if you doubled him? Things like that. That's what he's
I'm gonna
supposed to be doing.
say better than an abomination,
Low bar.
but, probably doesn't see that much play because it sounds like things that are 5 cost need to do a lot, and this is something you'd be building around, which I feel like you'd want things more in the middle of the game, like your 3s and 4s to do that.
Panther is sort of like a combo card, is the way to think about him. Like,
Yeah, because he's a
basically,
build around. That's what it
yeah,
sounds like.
yeah. But like, he's like the way it works is there's like a very specific 4, 5, 6 that results in like arbitrarily large panthers at multiple locations. But if you're not doing that, he is more or less unplayable. Like he's mostly only ever used in like a combo line that is kind of the backup plan of some decks, but it's not really like a playable card. The card is, I don't want to sit here and call it bad, right? Like that doesn't seem like the right way to describe it.
It's slightly better than Abomination.
It's a
So,
card people will play, unlike Abomination,
what
but it's
haters?
not a very good one, right? Like Marvel Snap, because of the cube system, allows these sort of like 46% win rate decks, but like when they go off, they really go off decks to exist in like a way that like other card games don't. And Panther's one of those decks, basically. If this was a card game without the cube system, he would be unplayable.
Cool.
Scarlet Spider.
Add an exact clone of this to another location.
Probably time to talk about what Activate means. Activate is basically a tap ability. You can use this and it will happen. Imagine it as just like an ability to translate it to Magic templating. It says 0, that thing happens, but
You do it once,
yeah,
right?
you can do it once and it can't be used like the turn the card is played, basically. It has summoning sickness.
Okay. Can you choose to do it at any time during the turn? Or is it like happen, I guess, at the same time that your card gets turned face up? Like your
Yeah.
other cards.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can queue it to happen in whatever order you want. So, like, if you want to play a card, then have the effect happen, then play another card on your final turn of the game, you can do that as long as this guy is face up for you to activate the effect.
I think it's cool that there's 2 of them with different art. Like they gave it different art. It looks like because I see one behind it.
Yep, that's the
That's
clone.
neat. Roses are reds and spiders are too. And cluttering up the battlefield sounds like a good thing to do. I feel like this is something that you probably have some synergy with activatings, and you can probably buff it and then copy it over. I imagine that there's something you do along those lines. And then, like the last guy we saw, who's 5, this one's 4. So I feel like it's easier to have things built around that. So I think it probably sees more play in decks that are built around it.
Interestingly, I don't think I can say that that's true. This is a card that has a very pronounced weakness that only exists in a game like Marvel Snap. Imagine if every card in Magic had haste, and then they
Mhm.
released cards that didn't have haste.
Oh, so because you can't use it the turn it comes out, only
Yeah.
the next turn, people will, I don't know, try to
Not
destroy
even necessarily try to
you?
destroy, but it's like there are only 6 turns, right? So if you
Mhm.
draw this on turn 6, it doesn't do its thing. You can't clone it. You
Ah,
can't.
I
There's like a
see.
whole turn of the game where this is just basically not a card. And so it's only really playable on like 4 and 5, which sort of artificially drags it down a little bit.
Well, that's so sad because if you play it on 6, it's just like, I'm just 5.
Yeah, I'm just a
That's
bad
sad.
use. Yes, like it's just a bad use of your time and energy. And so like that's part of why like expensive activates were like really hard to actually hit on, I think.
Oh, so it's kind of a middling or unplayed card.
Yeah, it's just not very good. And it's not like
Oh, so sad.
explosive in the way that like there are some middling cards that are just like middling because they're inconsistent, but when they hit they're very good and so you can play them because of the snap mechanic. This is not that. It's not a high enough ceiling to be worth the middlingness. Everybody's favorite card in Marvel Snap, Cerebro. Ongoing ability, your highest power cards have +2 power. So this ability, like, updates perpetually, basically. It is, like, you play a 4 power guy, it goes to 6. You play a 5 power guy, that'll go to 7, but the 4 power guy will lose the buff. Only your highest power cards get the Cerebro buff. So if you play a bunch of things with the same power, he gives a board-wide buff.
So but if something else comes out that has a higher, then they all go away.
On your side of the board, yes. Like, it's your highest power cards. So you have to build, like, a deck full of things with 3, a deck full of things with 4. That's what he's asking you to do.
I don't like that. I think that because of the location strategies, this is like, it essentially buffs whatever the last thing you're playing is if you're playing things of multiple powers. But if you are building a deck where everything has the same power and you're just trying to flood the board, how many of the same card are you allowed to have in a deck? It's only one, right?
It's only one.
Yeah, I don't like that. I would want everything to be. I would want like 4 Cerebros in my deck to guarantee that I get it. So, nah, I'm gonna say I don't like it.
This is like a pretty classic meme deck. Like, this is like sort of the original meme deck in Marvel Snap. So you're correct. It's not very good.
It's a hat, or maybe it's the entire machine. I don't know. Professor X is sitting down and he's like, I'm going to use my big psychic brain to look at everything.
Yes.
Which I guess gives your highest power card.
Don't dive into the flavor here. It doesn't make sense. There's no good flavor for this. It's not... like, it's just like a fun card, and they didn't have anywhere else to put it, so they put it on Cerebro, which is a character for reasons I don't exactly understand.
It's a character? I thought that it was a machine.
I'm pretty sure.
I bet it's like alive at some points.
Yes, like I think, like, not only, I don't even think it's the only X-Men machine that comes to life. I am like 95% sure the Danger Room comes to life at some point as well. I'm pretty sure, like, a common X-Men story, having not read a lot of X-Men comics, but it certainly seems like a common X-Men storyline is machine that we use comes to life and is a mutant. And so I'm just guessing that's what happened here.
That sounds like if I was writing comics, I'd probably throw that in pretty often.
Yeah,
seems easy.
Yeah, it's like a well-worn story alongside, like, you know, love triangle between Wolverine, Jean Grey, and Cyclops, like right under that on the writer's board.
No, like, why isn't Wolverine just kissing Cyclops? We've been over this.
There is a scene in the few X-Men comics I've read where like there's like a picture of like the 3 of them together that like has that energy. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, Wolverine is like holding 2 6-packs around with his arms around both of them. Like, it's got that energy. It hasn't happened yet, but who knows? Silver Surfer. On reveal, give your other 3-cost cards +2 power.
Is there any way to play 3-cost cards before turn 3?
You can, like... No, honest answer, not really, no.
Okay. That's weird. It's, like, so specific for 3-cost cards. So, like, I imagine if you build a deck that's all 3-cost cards and maybe there's other 3-cost card synergies. I could see this being okay, but only if that's like a thing that exists. And you build a deck that's got 1s, 2s, and then 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. But I would say no. With one caveat, I know I've seen people talking about Silver Surfer on Marvel Snap Twitter in the past, which makes me think this card used to be stronger.
He did used to be stronger.
Yeah, because like I follow like Jeff Hoogland and a couple others because they all played Magic and like Mogwai and stuff, and it's like, yeah, I know I've seen people complaining about this card.
You're like that's like actual 2022, I think.
Oh my god, nailed it!
Like in actual 2022, people were complaining about this card. It gave +3 power back then, and it was a 3/0. But I will say, the deck construction you talked about, where it was like a 1, a couple 2s, and then 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, it's actually still good. Like, this is still a good card. People still do it. It's just no longer like Omega broken. It's just like a pretty good card that you can play and enjoy. And I think that Silver Surfer is genuinely described as a good card by most of the player base. It's a card that is good. The archetype sort of cycles in and out because I think you probably, this might have gone unsaid, but I'm pretty sure you got to it, which was if you're only playing like 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, you end up lacking some top end power some of the time. You're playing a lot of these threes, and a lot of them are cool, but like there are decks that are going to be able to go over the top of that. So this deck sort of goes in and out of the metagame depending on whether or not the tech cards it has available to it at 3 match up well into the decks that go over the top of it with points. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, but that's the general determinant of like whether this is like a genuinely good tier deck or just like some okay stuff to do. Possibly the single weirdest card in the entire game of Marvel Snap, Mysterio. He plays himself as 3 different 0 power dudes. Then at the end of the game, one of those 0 power dudes turns into a 4 power dude.
So you know where the real one is,
yes,
but nobody else does.
Correct.
I think it's good.
Just straight up.
I think that's such like a nasty strat. And I bet that there's other things that are like, yeah, if you have 0 power units, buff them up. Doesn't matter. This is a 2/4, which like we've already established there's 1/5s that see play. But the like trickiness of you don't know where I have the 4 power. It could be anywhere.
I mean,
it could even be right here. Ooh.
You definitely nailed it. Like, this card is good, but the reasons for it are weird and annoying, basically. So, reason number 1 why this card is good is what you said. It is a 2/4 that they don't know where it is, right? Reason number 2 is you are correct that there are things that kind of scale off of having stuff. It's not 0 power, but like, there is a card that gets cheaper for every card you have on the board that did not start in your deck, right? And this counts as 3 of those things.
Extra. Ah.
There is a card that gets cheaper for every card you played the previous turn, and this counts as 3. There is a card that gets stronger for every card you play after it, and this counts as 3.
And I know there's things that care about just how many characters are at a location, things like that. There's just so many different things that work with Mysterio that he's good. Also, unknown information.
He is costed like his ability is a downside, but everything that plays it turns it into an upside, like a massive, massive upside. I wouldn't say he's like one of the strongest cards in the game, but like he is the linchpin of so much weird crap. There's so much weird stuff that this card does, and almost none of it is related to his actual gimmick, and all of it is related to the way in which he just is 3 cards at the same time. Meet the Juggernaut. Yeah.
Oh, I know him. I know Juggernaut, man of momentum. Or I mean, if you're a Magic player, he can't be blocked by walls. Has to attack every turn.
5/3. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a 5/3. Yeah. On reveal, move away all enemy cards played on this turn, including unrevealed cards. So this is pretty funny because it's like you play this and it just clears out your entire opponent's thing. It's like in Magic, there's like a card called like River's Rebuke. It would put things back in hand. This one just like moves things out of the way, and it's at 3. But you could play it later in the game. You could make this your last card you play in a spot to be like, no, this is my location.
You can indeed.
And so I think this sees play. I think it's a good card.
That's exactly correct, and that is exactly the reason why. This is a card that sees play based entirely on it being an absolutely elite turn 6 play. If you want to just guarantee you win a location, Juggernaut will do that.
Nice. Or just mess up your opponent's stuff, because I assume it moves things just kind of randomly. It just says move away enemy cards here played here this turn.
It's 100% random.
So if you already have a lead on a spot, it's like, no, I'm keeping that lead.
Yeah, that's exactly what it does. That's cool. That's the explicit role it has, is it says, I'm ahead here, I'm winning it.
Cool.
Fastos. He's one of the Eternals, and I've always had a problem with it because his name is Fastos, but he's not the fast one. There's like one of them that's explicitly fast, but it's not the guy named Fastos.
There's like a speed guy.
There's this. Okay. It ended up being Makari, which I get it, right? They're doing a thing. It's like Makari.
Fastos, that's like a Greek sounding name or something, right? Are they supposed to be Greekish? I don't know anything about the Eternals.
He's like a Hephaestus knockoff. That's the gag.
There's a podcaster I listen to who's like, I will tell you everything you need to know about the Eternals, and it's nothing. Let me talk about Adam Warlock for 4 hours.
That actually sounds like actual Marvel, as far as I'm aware. Like,
let's see. 3/3 on reveal. Give each card in your deck -1 cost or +2 power. So it's random which buff it gives.
Correct, but it's for the record
everything. So assuming you play this on turn 3, that means that on turn 4, 5, and 6, you have a potential change in plan, but it doesn't change the cards in your hand, so it only affects the next cards you draw.
For the record, the buff is randomly applied across each card. So
including
it's not
ones
like
in your hand?
No, not ones in your hand. What I'm getting at is it's not like, you draw the first one and the next one is going to be minus.
Yeah, no, it's just like it's each one randomly flipped a coin and it's either -1 or +2.
That is exactly it.
I don't know on this one. I'm going to say it's a maybe card. I feel like the giving things -1 cost has the potential for like some weird chain combo deck where you're just like, yeah, I play the 1 cost thing and normally, but it becomes 0 cost and I draw a card that gets me another 0 cost. So I just load out the deck after turn 3. But I don't know if it's predictable enough to get play. So
yeah,
I'd say it's medium. It's medium bad.
Medium minus is a good way to describe this card. People nickname it Fast Loss because it's not very good and we're not very clever. It's not good. If this had the text without the coin flip, I think it'd be a lot easier to deck build this for this card. But because it is a coin flip, when you put it in your deck, you're like, okay, there's usually an explicit outcome that you want, and you're unable to hit it all of the time.
Yeah, it's not happening. Sorry, Fastos.
Yep.
Oh, I love the lizard.
Really?
He just wants everybody else to be lizards.
I mean, I've never heard anyone say, I love the lizard.
Why wouldn't you love the lizard?
It's not
His
really
name is the lizard.
Okay.
What is he? Scientist. Turned himself into a lizard.
That is true. All of that is true. He is in fact that. If
I was a scientist, then I could turn myself into a lizard. I'd turn myself into a lizard. What do? -4 power if your opponent has 4 cards here. So your opponent can stop it from being as good, but they have to like super commit. Yep. I actually think this is still probably pretty good because it's like, yeah, you don't want to have to commit that much to wherever I put the lizard on turn 2.
He's all right. He's like almost the definition of medium. This card actually used to be like the cream of the crop. It used to be like the best 2-drop in the game. Obviously, power creep happens, and I think he's a little bit of a victim of that. He's not bad. It's just there's usually other 2-drops that are more specific to a strategy that people can play now. There's less just like pile of good cards deck building in Marvel Snap than there used to be. And he is like sort of the archetypal pile of good cards guy. When you look at him and you look at Mysterio, you see Mysterio with like all these other hooks like that you can do with him, and Lizard is just a guy. And so you end up like with, it's like, all right, well, I'm going to play the one that has all the synergies instead of just a guy. And that's
and like Mysterio would be actively good against Lizard because it's putting a thing at each spot.
Correct. And that is actually something that does matter a decent amount of the time. Like,
dang it.
It is a real thing where like this is like a card that is pretty okay, but there are just generally better options for you to choose from when you have most of the cards in the game.
Cool. I love the lizard though. More people need to respect the lizard.
I just like, it's just such, I like, from someone who like came into this video with I didn't expect you to necessarily know all the Marvel people. To be like a Kurt Connors fan is just a wild thing to me. Like,
I'm sorry, he was in a movie. He was a main villain in a movie.
He was?
Oh
Which
my
one?
God. Do you not remember it?
Is this one of the, was he the main villain, like one of the Andrew Garfield ones? Is that what we're getting at here?
Okay, let's not talk about it. I guess we can't talk about Andrew Garfield.
I didn't watch the Andrew Garfield ones. I didn't watch the Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans. I'm sorry.
Why not? Go watch them. Don't watch the second one. Actually, just watch the first one.
It's apparently like, I don't know. I just like there's this whole generation of like people who were like, I really love Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. I have not watched any of them. I'm like actually a little bit afraid that my girlfriend heard me in the other room talking about how I haven't watched them and that now I'm going to end up watching them.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, wow, I love the lizard.
I love
Honestly,
the
everything
lizard.
he does is what I want to do.
That's crazy. I know him from like some bad Spider-Man comics that I read back in the day. So it just really took me aback to be like, of all the people, like it's just not an expectation I had. Anyway.
I mean, there's also I would say that's a character that sees more comic stuff versus Gwenpool, who's like a fan favorite because they're like, oh well, I like my Deadpools and I like my Spidey Gwens and I like when there's a symbiote and a thing and it's a blah 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 blah. Whenever you involve these guys together, your Spider-Mans and your Deadpools and everything else, they're popular among
I
people.
actually read the Gwenpool comics and I like her. They were good.
Okay.
I like her.
But would you have read those if you didn't already have some attachment to something else in there?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, no, I read them specifically because of like the way they took her power. Because like Deadpool's like a really like cynical fourth wall breaker, and Gwenpool is like sort of explicitly not that. And so I kind of appreciate like, you know, I don't want to just reduce it to like Deadpool without the dick jokes, but like there is a level of like internet humor to Deadpool that gets really tiring, and I think what they did with Gwenpool was actually kind of cute and nice, and I enjoyed it.
All right, so this is 4, 6, and can give up to +6 on stuff in your hand.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. How many cards do you start with in your hand?
You start with 3, draw 1 each turn, so on turn 1 you'll have 4.
I think this falls into again the problem that came up before of it's only really good on turn 4 because if you play it on turn 5 or turn 6, even if you only had one card in hand and it's all given the buff, it's not predictable enough.
That is true, but she's still really good, is the thing.
She's
like,
still really good just
she's
because like the base being a 4/6
yeah.
and potentially given the big buffins.
Yeah, just like when you look at the numbers, this is a potential 4/12, right? And that's to say nothing of, like we talked about Mysterio earlier. When a Gwenpool buff goes onto Mysterio, it hits all of them.
Wait, so the illusions aren't generated on the board, they're generated in hand, essentially?
Nobody's really sure why, but that is how it works.
It's like, copy me, but give me -4.
It's very weird. It's a very weird card.
Marvel Snap, it's not what the card says.
This is why I talked about like Mysterio just being the weirdest guy on earth, but like it's not like he's the only card that like creates a copy of himself, right? So like there are multiple cards that create copies of themselves. He's just the one that has like the most general applicability with Gwenpool, but she'd probably be good anyway because that makes her buff multiply effectively. So she's not just a 4/12, she gets like 4/16, you know? Like she ends up just being just very large numbers. All the things you noted about the dynamics of how she plays out are all still true. She's just, her numbers are too good for them to matter as much.
Cool.
Ajax, who was in the first Deadpool movie. This is the bad guy from the first Deadpool movie. This is Francis from that movie.
Let's see. 5, it's got a 7, ongoing plus power for each card in play afflicted with negative power. Okay, does that mean that the power is a negative number or that it's just lower than the starting amount?
Neither, actually. It just means that it has taken -1 power by the effect of another card or location at some point in the game.
I don't know. To me, that's not enough to justify it at 5. Even like if there's a bunch of other stuff that like comes into play and is like, I give myself my negative power.
Well, it's more about giving your opponent's stuff negative power.
Yeah, so I don't vibe with it. I've seen like the big number we can get, and I feel like you can have even more big number. So I'm gonna say it's middling at best.
This is actually just straight up one of the best cards in the game.
Really? So is there just like a ton of stuff? So I haven't seen any cards yet that make your opponent's stuff weaker.
Yes, I did
But there's also like locations that could make things weaker. So that could happen too.
Oh my god, hold on a second. Something just flew into my eye.
Oh, nice. That was Ajax.
Oh my
He's out for
god.
blood because I said he sucks.
If that was actually Ajax, he is much smaller in my eye than he is in the game. Okay.
Well, you guys remember, like, he's in your phone. The phone screen's not very big.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I have a pretty big phone. Anyway, Ajax is really big because there are a couple of cards that make him really big. There are cards that like afflict all your opponent's stuff or like afflict specific things with specific characteristics. And so he ends up just being like one of the larger 5-drops in the game. Like he's just like a very big build around 5-drop. He doesn't go in every deck, but like the Ajax Affliction package is one of the strongest in the game right now. It's a consistent performer that does a lot of work across a variety of different decks and probably has ever since he came out. He's a strong, strong card.
I mean, we did real bad in the last ones. Oh, leader.
Yeah.
Hey.
Leader. Me when I go to the library for 5 minutes. On reveal, copy the enemy card with the highest power played this turn, but on your side.
Okay, and it's a 6/3. Does it put it in the same location?
It does.
As your opponent's one, or is it leader?
It mirrors their play.
I think it's good then. I think that anything that has if they're making number, I'm making number. But I don't like that it costs 6 when like you could have something that I would say kind of has a similar output, but with you don't get the abilities of the card and everything else. Because this wouldn't copy the on reveal of anything your opponent plays.
It does.
So you don't get all
you
the
get
abilities.
That. No, you get the on
do.
reveal. Yeah, like it is the card. There's actually
And
like
this is a fun finisher. I like it. I would put this in decks in part to just be like, ha, I got this too.
I mean, that it is a fun finisher. I'll give it that much. But its fundamental issue is it only copies the strongest card. So if your opponent is playing multiple cards on the final turn of the game, you're only getting one of them. And that's an issue. If this guy, his old
if he
text,
copied all of them, that'd be different.
That was his old text, and he was like one of the most broken cards to ever exist.
They should fix it. They should make it go that way because that's what I thought, and it's way more fun sounding. Because it's just like you played this, I also get this.
It's fun sounding until every deck is playing this, and then
they're gonna show up in like 1 out of every 6 games.
No, when this guy was good, he like you had to like figure out what the mechanics were of like if you played it on the left and they played it on the right, you would fill up your location that they played it on with leaders, and they would fill up their location that you played it on with
that's
leaders.
Like a Yogg-Saron. No, that's funny.
It was like a whole thing.
They should bring it back. I'm on team unnerf leader.
Oh my god. We're gonna get comments. Okay.
Good. Leave comments. That's called engagement. It makes the video do better.
Don't do that. Don't yell at me about this. I'm begging you.
No, they to yell at me.
Okay.
I, the person who has no stake in this because I don't play Marvel Snap.
Sure. I guess that does make it.
You know what? I know people who hang out with Ben Brode on the regular. So I bet I could be like, hey, Brian, can you get me Ben's number? I have a complaint to make.
I had Olivia on doing one of these, and in the middle of it, she called Ben to yell at him about the use of the word tap on a card, which like there's one card in the game that says tap this to do it, but it doesn't like tap. You like you poke it. It like you literally tap it, and so in the middle of the thing,
right?
Yeah, it sounds right to me. But in the middle of the thing, it's like I'm going to get on the phone with Ben Brode and yell at him about using the word tap here.
I don't have Ben's number, but I have the number of the people who have Ben's number, and that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna give them. I gotta give like Olivia a call first and be like, Olivia, can I have Ben's number? Thank you so much, Ben. Leader, unnerf, please.
Oh my God, please don't, please don't do that.
I know we've never talked before, and you probably make very good decisions, but come on, just do it for a week. Make it for Christmas present for Amy.
They actually would do that. They've done patches before where it's like, this only is going to exist for a week, so let's get weird with it. And I don't think they would do that for a leader. Let me put it that way.
Tragic.
Galactus On reveal, if you're winning this location and it's your only card here, destroy all other locations.
Yeah, I mean, also I feel like this card is great just based on its ability. It allows you to commit heavily into one location. It also could get kind of bamboozled by other things like Juggernaut, but I feel like that's counterplay and that's important in a card game. I think this card's rad, and also I think that if you make a card with Galactus and he wasn't good, people would have a problem with it. So Galactus good.
Okay, so the thing is, they originally made this card and it was much better, but people had a problem with that.
Was he like a 6'10"?
No, he was a 6'2", but he didn't have any other requirements on it. So it wasn't like you had to be winning. It wasn't like you had to be. It wasn't like you had to have your only card here. You just had to be like winning. Like it would just do it. Just blow up the location.
Cool.
You just blow up the location. It was like,
so
okay.
Now at least you have to build around him. You have to make it so you're winning this one and protecting this one location.
Right. And the issue is he always had to be the only card there, but you didn't always have to be winning it. And so if he, like, you can't actually invest in the location except by, like, putting stuff on your opponent's side of that location by making it terrible. But the biggest, like, unearned bit of publicity Marvel Snap I think ever got was when Nadeshot, like, famous FPS guy, out of nowhere tweeted about how much this card sucked. Like, had not tweeted about the game at all ever before this, has not tweeted about it since, but was like, you guys have to get rid of this freaking card. Like, this sucks so bad. And so they nerfed it into...
remember in the tutorial, though, there were things like, I want to say it was like Mr. Fantastic, is like, units on adjacent things get a buff. And so, like, I know that there's ways to buff cards without being on the location, and that's what I feel like you would build with this. But it is really weird. I guess because your opponent can also put stuff on the board, though.
Right.
They can just cut you off from it.
Yes, that is the typical...
Oh, that's so sad. I want him to be better.
Oh.
How can you make Galactus not the World Eater?
I like how, like, now that we're getting towards the end of this, you're just like, these are all the opinions that you have, and every one of them is like, you should unnerf the card that everyone hated.
Like, ooh, Galactus daddy, come eat my planet, please. That's what it should say. That should be
text. That actually should be the on-reveal text.
Is there flavor in this game?
Only on cards without abilities. So you saw like the Spider-Man flavor or the Scarlet Spider
clone,
flavor. Yeah, or like for Abomination, which is foolish rabble, you are beneath me. No cards that say ooh woo yet. Maybe coming in the future. We'll see.
Okay, yeah. It'll be a Galactus skin.
Yeah, I'll talk to them and see if we can get some ooh woo into the game.
Thank you.
That's kind of what his hat looks like, actually, if you really get into it. Like, they should... Anyway.
They'll make a kawaii Galactus, and you'll be like, yes.
They actually should do that. Magneto.
Oh, hey, Magneto. 6/12 on reveal. Move all enemy 3 and 4 cost cards to this location. I like it because it messes with your opponent's stuff. It's got huge numbers on it. 10 out of 10. Great card.
Actually, that's 100% correct. That analysis is exactly right. I don't even have anything to add to it. 100% right.
Sweet. Okay, that makes it nice and easy. Also, he's Magneto. We like him. He's a cool guy. He's a cool villain.
Yep.
Something Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, whatever. Why are they called that? He's right.
True. I have a shirt lying around with like one of the
Magneto's right.
Yes, I have like a Magneto was right graffiti shirt.
Is
right. He was right.
Megatron also right, by the way. If you want to draw parallels between things.
I'm not familiar enough with Transformers lore to offer an opinion on that.
It's okay. Somebody start a fight with me in the comments.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right.
Oh, is this our last one?
This is our last one. Did you watch this show, by the way?
The new one?
Yeah.
No, but this card greatly predates it from my understanding because I remember hearing about this.
How do you know stuff? That's not fair. I was told you wouldn't know any stuff.
Because I didn't play the game, but my friends play the game and I see them make
You're not
tweets
allowed
about
to
cards
know
I have
stuff.
no stake. And they're very mixed because they're like, yeah, the AI plays like dog crap. But it means you don't have to play the game.
Right, huge upside.
Which, oh my gosh, if I'm just like grinding numbers, Agatha, take over for me. I got other stuff to do. I was taking a pee break. I only have like 2 minutes. Agatha finished the game. Agatha played the game for me. I'm at work. I want Agatha to play my game. I bet she sees so much play. Also, big numbers.
So here's the thing. Unfortunately, the developers are clever.
Mm-hmm.
They made it so any sort of rewards you get go to her instead of you.
Wait, why would they do that? We're teammates. We're
So
friends.
that, well,
She's in my deck.
what she says is, I steal boosters from the undeserving. It's kind of my thing. She has like a little voice line at the end of the game justifying what she's done to you. So you can't even use her to do that anymore. You used to be able to use her to farm season pass XP.
Okay, wait. So back when I probably would have seen things about this, she did still give you the rewards.
She never gave you boosters, but she gave you season pass XP, but they changed her. She plays your cards for you only on even turns now.
Yeah, but like that means I only have to half pay attention.
Yes, now you have to actually half make decisions though. So everyone who is using her to farm, like they're like a script. So they broke all the scripts.
Oh, because they would essentially have things that are just like it presses the play button.
Yes.
And Agatha's there, press the play button. But now you actually had to play, and I bet it's a lot harder to make a script that plays your deck. Even though I don't think it'd be that hard in Snap.
I don't know.
Just because there's like there's a medium. So I think that the Snap mechanic would make it a lot harder. But I'm thinking about there's a fairly limited card pool. And the decision trees like per turn because you can build it for a deck. You might have to build it as a complex decision tree. I think you could build a script. It would be that good, but it would still play games for you. And well, like what win rate do you need to grind XP? Like
you don't need to actually win anything technically. But like I'm interested in this because like the actual bots in Marvel Snap super suck. And you're out here like, I'm pretty sure I could make one that doesn't super suck.
No, I'm saying that I could make one that would play the game.
Okay.
That's different. That's why I said, like, what win rate do you need? Because if it only needs to be 20%,
yeah,
I bet I could do that. Just play the most frustrating cards.
Sure.
Oh, I guess locations would make it a lot harder to be like, which place are you able to do this? Especially because they rotate.
They do, yes. It's hard to... You can't just be like, always here, and then like plan it out that way.
And is that our last one? Our last one, Agatha?
That's our last one. As always, though, I've been KM Best, and I guess not as always. She has been Amazonian. You can catch her on twitch.tv/Amazonian, on YouTube, Amazonian, and I believe still on Twitter for the time being, but I think most people have a limited lifespan on that website. I'm not sure.
It's where I post funny jokes, but like, I don't know, I post funny jokes on Tumblr too, but nobody from my stream follows me there, and they shouldn't. Because the last time somebody posted the link to it in my Twitch chat, they were like, wow, I went to your Tumblr. Why is the BDSM on here? And it's like, it's fine. It's regular. This is good stuff. Just don't look at it. Go to Twitter. It's fine.
I cut it. I'm cutting. Wait, no, I wanted to cut the video there. Oh my god, that would have been such a sick. No, do it. That would have been such a sick cut, but do what you gotta do.
I was gonna say, you should just grab one more card. Just grab a random one. Hit me with something on that pool to the right.
Okay, I'll just grab a random card here.
Let's do it.
Sure. That's the Blob.
Blob, baby! Oh my god, you have such cute art for the Blob.
I took all the cool art off of all of my cards to show them to you because I was worried the art might give them away.
Oh, because like you invested more into them?
Yeah.
Okay. Merge cards from your deck until it gets 13 or more power. Does it get all the abilities of the merge cards?
No, just numbers. He eats.
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
13, I guess. Oh, but it's or more?
Yeah, it's like a soft cap.
If you only had things in your deck that had certain powers, it'd be very hard for it to hit exactly 13. So big number and also funny because it eats cards in your deck. I'd like it as a finisher.
No, he's a good card. Yeah, he's a pretty solid card. He has like some specific applications, mostly with cards that put cards in your deck. So like there are cards like Thanos or Arishem that increase the size of your starting deck, which means that Blob is almost always like just big. He's just like a 6 big, and that's really all you need from a 6 a lot of the time.
Nice. And there. Now we've seen a bonus card. Thank you so much for having me on. And to everybody who watched this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The algorithm decides our fates because we're content creators.
What a cool job.